Hello, everyone. How are you all today? It is Monday, September the 9th. I hope you all are having a great Monday. I know Monday is not everybody's favorite day, but just happened to be one of mine simply because I get to come on Ask the Nanny and spend time with you all with my village. Hola, Lucretia. I do know that one word. Hi, Cynthia. Hi, Meeches. How are you? I know that there are going to be a lot of bilingual nannies on tonight simply because we are talking about a subject of bilingual nannies. Before we get started, if you're in the Dallas area, next Sunday we're having a Sunday social from 2:30 to 5:30 in Rockwall area. If you have not RSVP'd, please go to the Ask the Nanny page to the events and RSVP. And Austin, I'm coming on September the 21st and 22nd. If you have not RSVP'd, September the 14th, that is Saturday, is the last day to RSVP. Now, if you get there, I'm so sorry because I put it out there several times. So please, if you want to be a part of the activities that are going on for National Nanny Recognition Week, starting September the 21st and the 22nd in Austin, Texas, please go to Ask the Nanny events page and sign up. Now, on to our show. Okay, so tonight we are talking about bilingual nannies. And I have noticed that in several job on Facebook and on care.com, on Sitter City, and on several of the other nanny job boards that I am on, even on Facebook. I know 2 or 3 on Facebook. I noticed that a lot of parents are looking for bilingual nannies. And they won't necessarily, some of them really just blatantly say, I really don't want you unless you're bilingual. But some of them, most of them say bilingual is a plus or give special consideration to bilingual nannies. So in other words, that's what they're looking for. Now, I know American Sign Language. I know a little bit of German. I can understand it better than I can speak it simply because, thank you, Chelsea. I love my shirt. I can speak it. I can understand it simply because I worked for 2 years with a German family. I can understand it better than I can speak it because when you're around it and you're hearing the kids do it, I know some words and I can understand what they're trying to tell me, the essence of what they're trying to tell me, but every word I don't catch. But families are looking for bilingual nannies to speak German and Spanish and in my neighborhood it's Mandarin. They want Mandarin and they want. I also noticed one mom was looking for someone who spoke. I don't know what the language is of Portuguese, but she was looking for a nanny from Portuguese. Deidre got me laughing. She says she's here and eating ice cream. Well, I'm so glad you're enjoying your ice cream, Deidre, because I'm kind of lactose. Well, I won't say lactose intolerant. I'm allergic to milk. So, hey, yes, be French too. French is one of those. Brazil, yes. Didn't think about that one. But yes, let me get to our guest. I think I saw there's Naja. I hope I'm saying your name right, Naja. Okay, let me add you to. And if you're here, please hit the share button at the bottom of the page to share with your friends, to share with your nanny groups, to share with anybody who may be interested. There she is. Okay,
Hi.
your light
I didn't know I was going to be on
you.
camera.
Oh yes. Sorry.
No, I thought it was just gonna be my voice.
Ah, no, we're live, faces and all. So sorry. Well, we can barely make you out because you have
Okay,
the
let me.
lighting behind you.
Yeah.
The lighting behind you has you like in this glow,
That's because I'm an
beautiful
angel.
glow. But there you go.
Is that better?
That's much better. So, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for being our guest tonight. So, tell me, what language do you speak besides
American
English?
American Sign Language.
Yes, yes, me too. So, are you an instructor, or do you just speak it because you think it's fun, or what?
I just think it's fun. I started studying about 2 years ago, just on my own. I found a Groupon actually online, and I went to level one, and then I did level two. And of course, I don't have anyone in my life who's deaf, so I had to figure out how am I going to practice this and get better. There is in Atlanta, we have Atlanta Area Deaf School, and
Ah,
yes, they have classes. Um, it's like an 8 week course each semester, and you're able to, the course, the instructors are actually deaf, so they are, you're getting instruction from actual deaf people. And so, along with that, I also started taking tutoring from someone she's an interpreter, and she has gone to Gallaudet. That's the name of the college, right? Up on the,
yes, in
yes,
DC.
yes.
Yes, that's
Yep,
where
she
I
went there.
started.
Yeah, she
Yes.
went there to get her certifications and degrees and everything, and she's really awesome.
Okay, cool, cool. So, how do you use it with the children?
With the younger children, that's a lot of times how we start with saying eat or if you want a snack, I ask them, do you want to eat? Do you want some water? We do, of course, juice. So it's really just getting some of the foundations down. And with some of the older
Mm-hmm.
ones, we work on colors, like the just purple, green, things of that nature.
Okay, okay. See, when I was in DC, um, I did my student teaching in a speech and motor clinic,
Uh-huh.
and they paired me with a child who could hear, but he could not speak.
Okay.
Now, I had taught some basic sign language to my son who had chronic ear infections, and the doctor suggested that I give him, the basics. So we knew about 10, 15 words at the most. And I was like, okay, we're good. When they praised me with that child, and he was like, and I was like, oh my God, I don't know what you're saying to me.
Yeah, yeah.
So that prompted me to look into classes. And at the college I was going to, they had ASL 1, 2, and 3. So I took all three courses. And then I later became a baby sign language instructor for, um, what's Rachel's thing? Um, gosh, I can't even think. Um, Oh, what is Rachel saying? Signing, my baby signing time. That's it. Baby,
Okay.
why did my mind just went blank? Baby signing time. I became a baby sign language instructor, and then I started a play group called Talk Play Group in Washington D.C. And I started out with one child
Mm-hmm.
in my group, and it grew to not only that one location. I had three locations, and I was teaching 6 times a week. And then it grew to I had a kindergarten teacher who spoke Spanish who contacted me. So we were doing sign language and Spanish classes. And then I had a family that I went to, I did home groups, and I went to her to teach her child baby sign language because she was 2.5 years old and she was a preemie, but she wasn't speaking. She wasn't saying anything. So the doctor suggested that she learn sign language. So I was one-on-one with her, but she was a CPR instructor. So she came and worked with me. So I was like a one-stop shop,
I see.
and I loved it. I
Yeah.
loved it. I loved it. I loved it. But teaching babies sign language is awesome. and watching them, that aha moment when they get it,
Mhm.
I'm just like, yes.
Yes, yes.
So you teach yours with the babies? You work with
Yes.
babies?
Yes. Yeah,
Ah,
and I'm also a foster parent. So right
oh,
now I
great.
have she's like 1.5, and I work with her on it. And sometimes she gets the signs confused, but once I show her, she's like, "Oh yeah, that's what I meant."
Now I know some babies that I have worked with, they don't do like this is the sign for more.
Hmm.
But I had one child, he would go like this, and I knew that was his sign for more.
Yeah.
Now, of course, I continue to do this to teach him the right words, but you know, it's just like English when you tell a child spaghetti and they call pasquetti,
Spaghetti.
you know. But yeah, baguette, whatever they. I had one child. Uh, he called blueberries blue bars. So I don't know what the blue bars was.
Well,
I
the
didn't
little
know
girl
why I knew what the
here,
blue bars was.
we do a lot of fruit, so we were going over a lot of the fruit signs for fruit. And for blueberry, I don't know, somehow the sign for blueberry became her universal sign for food. Instead of doing this, she would always give me the sign for blueberry.
Okay, you there?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, okay. So instead of doing the sign for food, she would do
Oh,
what?
she would constantly give me the sign for blueberry. So eventually, I just figured,
That's a
okay,
child for you.
right. Eventually, I figured out, okay, when she says blueberry, she really means she's hungry.
Okay. Well, at least you figured it out. You knew that she wanted something to eat. You
Right.
knew blueberries is food. Okay. And then she go, no, I don't want blueberries. I don't want
Exactly.
that. That's not what I want. I said blueberries, but that's not what I really want.
Yes.
So do you use sign language with your the infants that you work with as a nanny?
Not so much. I do normally wait until they're a little bit older, closer to probably 6 months. I see it's a little bit easier and they pick up on it better. I haven't really
Mm-hmm.
tried it with infants too much. Have you? Do you see that it works?
Well, see, I talk I talk with my hands all the time, so it's like, okay, put your arms down. I talk with my hands all the time, and I teach. I start from day one. Start teaching them that it's time to drink, or it's time to eat, or I'm going to change your pamper,
Okay.
and I just do as I talk to them. I sign with them, and I sign and say, just I don't sign every word.
Mhm.
It's just the important words, and I'll make sure when I say, um, if I say we're going to eat, I'll make sure that I'm signing eat. Or if I tell them it's time to go to sleep, I'm signing sleep. Or it's either this way or that way. I try to teach them one way because they can do this or they can do this.
Yeah.
I had one child would just go like that. So they knew it's time to go to sleep. So they know what I'm talking about. When I say please or when I'm saying sorry, I always sign with when I'm saying those the main words that I want them to know that they will catch on to. I know that when I'm saying and I'm signing at the same time, they're picking it up.
Right.
By the time they start getting about 4 months old, I see their little fingers going like this and their hands.
And they're
I said,
trying
"You're
to,
trying to
yeah.
sign something to me. I don't know what you're signing, but I just keep signing, and it become as they get older, it becomes more pronounced what they're trying to say,
Okay. So I may
but they're
start.
familiar with the words.
Yeah, I may start trying to incorporate it earlier then.
Yeah, if you incorporate it's like they can't say it. I mean, they may not be able to sign it. It's just like any other language. They may not be able to say the words back to you,
Mhm.
but if you get that brain to thinking about those words and incorporating those words, I understand what you're saying to me.
And they can start
And
linking it
some
together.
people that right. Some people think, well, um, she's so young, she doesn't know what I'm saying. She doesn't. Babies, they're little people.
Yeah.
when you talk to them, when you read to them, when you sign to them, it becomes they become like sponges, and they just suck it all in, and they suck it in, and even though they may not be able to produce it back to you, you'd be amazed that, with a 1 year old and you're talking to them or you're saying something to them, and you'll say something and they'll look at you and turn around, and you're like, okay, she understood that. I didn't realize that she was paying attention. Trust me,
Right.
they're always paying attention. Even when you think they are not, they're paying attention. So I start early. I start stimulating their brains and start getting it into them as early as possible. Uh, Bonnie says, that sounds right to me. If for no other reason, it's stimulating for them and it gets you in the habit of signing to them. Exactly. Also, we don't wait until 6 months before speaking to them. This is true.
Right.
You don't wait until 6 months. You talk to your baby even when they're inside it. Now,
Uh-huh.
sign language is kind of different. You can't, you know, they can't see the signs, but as soon as they're here, as soon as they arrive and they can see you and they understand, they move, they see you, they may not be able to catch everything, but if you're moving your hands and you're talking and you're giving them a way of communicating,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to give it to you. They're going to give it
Right.
back to you, other than just crying.
Right.
Because by the time they're 2.5, 3 months old, they're cooing, and they're like, they can imitate sounds. I know the 3.5 month old, almost 4 months old, I said something, he dropped something. I said, uh-oh, you dropped it out of your head. And I kept saying it. And all of a sudden he was like, oh, oh, oh. I was like, are you trying to say, uh-oh? And it hit my brain. He is trying to repeat it.
Yes, yeah.
And it was that, it wasn't a uh-oh, but it was like, oh, oh. The inflections in his voice let me know he's trying to repeat what I am saying, because I'm working on him grasping things and holding them in his hands
Mm-hmm.
and making sure that he is on point with his milestones.
Yeah.
But when you talk to a child in any language, they're soaking it in. And that's why I know some parents, sign language is a hit or miss,
Mm-hmm.
because some parents are under the assumption that sign language will delay speech.
Right. And
But if you
I've
think
heard that
about it,
often.
yes, if you think about it, it's not just sign language. Any language, if you're speaking two languages to a child, it's got to go in. It's got to translate whatever it is you're saying from English to Spanish or French or German or whatever their basic home language is, their first language. It's got to interpret it from the first language to the second language, and then figure out, okay, how am I going to respond to this, and then come back at you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's any language that is being spoken to a child. It's going to take time to translate.
Right.
As old as we are, it takes time for us to translate. When somebody's speaking something to us and we're trying to learn a new language, we're like, okay, now what did they say? And we repeat it 3 or 4 times. Rewind,
Yes,
rewind,
yeah.
rewind, and then we try to sound it out. We're the same way. So if it takes us time to rewind to figure it out what they're trying to say to us, then what do you think a child is doing?
Mm-hmm.
And their brains are smaller than
Yeah.
ours. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yes. Let's see. Somebody else said something. Okay. I thought I saw another message. Okay. Cynthia, I have no clue what you just said, but hola. That's all I understood. That's the only part of that message I understand is hola. Okay. So, but have you noticed that any parents hire you simply because you know sign language and that you will do it with their children?
Um, Sorry, give me 1 second. Okay. I'm sorry about that. um, Not so much. A lot of parents, they think that it's fun, it's something nice to have, but like especially, I haven't worked with any deaf children, so I don't think that has been the only reason a parent or the main reason a parent has hired me.
Okay.
Like I said,
Okay.
a lot of
But
parents, they
has
think it's a plus and it's nice to have, but yeah, I don't think that's been
it's
a,
not economically
yeah, that hasn't been a
plus.
deciding factor.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Let me see.
And
I have one
I
more
also think
question.
they don't look at sign language like they look at Spanish or Portuguese or French.
True.
You know, sign language
True.
isn't always something that is seen as super useful.
Right.
Where the other language is, you know, I think they probably feel that those are more useful and more, you'll have more opportunities to use them.
Yes. Oh, Bunny says that argument drives me nuts. Yes, their speech is minorly delayed, but then their language skills blows up. So true. They are, and like I said, Bunny, that with any language, it's the same thing. Because when you're speaking, if even if you notice when children are speaking two languages, if they have speaking English and they're speaking Spanish, half of their sentence may be English and half of their sentence may be Spanish.
Yeah.
And half of the words, and it may be a Spanish word, English, English, Spanish word, English, Spanish, Spanish, Spanish. And because kids, they will relate to the word that they know best. They will relate to the word that they can say best, and they will relate to the word where they can get it out to you, and you'll know what I'm talking about. So, because I've had the German kids that I work with tell me, I need to talk English to you because you don't understand German so much.
Yeah.
I'm like, that is true. And they don't speak to each other in German, and they were like, she doesn't know what we're saying. I said, yes, I do. And we're still going to take a nap. And they'll look at me like, how did you know that? You're not supposed to know that. I'm like, well, I understand it, but you don't know it. And I understand it better than what you think I do.
Right.
So let's see. Uh, Jazz says, I had a kid who understood everything in Spanish, even Spanish slangs, but he couldn't speak it. His family speaks only English, and that might be the reason why he didn't decide to speak Spanish. That is so cool, though. But where did he learn the
That's what I
Spanish
was going to
from,
ask. Jazz,
Jazz?
do you know where he learned Spanish?
Did you teach him the Spanish? Oh, hold on. Let me see. Bonnie says, but you have the advantage in the sense that you don't have to be a native speaker of ASL. This is true. If you're teaching them Spanish, if you're teaching them Spanish of
Maybe
okay,
how
I'm not
often
understanding
should
your
you
script.
talk to them in
How
Spanish?
often should talk to them? Okay.
Maybe.
I'm not sure. Uh, I'm not understanding your sentence. Okay. Bonnie says, with each languages, it's less likely that you'll get hired to speak Spanish, for example, if you aren't a native speaker. Well, I don't think so, because I've had friends who are Native Americans. America is their first language. English is their first language, but they have um, they have learned Spanish in college, and they have learned Spanish in high school, and they were hired because of because they could speak the language, and also traveled out of state, out of country with them because they could speak the language, and they felt that she would be more comfortable, and which is the reason why they wanted a Spanish speaking nanny, because they knew they were traveling to a Spanish speaking country 3 to 4 times a year, and they needed someone who would feel comfortable speaking the language
Mm-hmm.
and know how to get around and could pretty much communicate in that language should something happen. And to me, that's a plus. Whether I'm natively speaking Spanish or I natively speak English. You hired me for my Spanish speaking abilities. And apparently they had conversations back and forth to see how much she knew on Spanish
Uh-huh.
and how much she could communicate on Spanish. Now, I know that I would. If I'm hiring someone that's supposed to be able to speak a certain language, we're going to have a whole conversation. The whole interview is going to be spoken in German or English or
Right.
French or whatever the language is, so that I know you're understanding me and that I know that you can fluently communicate back to me what's, in that language. That's just me. So, but anyway, thank you so much, Naja, for being coming on and being a special guest. I have two more guests that I need to get to,
Okay. Well, thank
and
you for
I
having me.
appreciate you coming on and for being a guest. And we'll have you on again soon.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Okay, Miss Cynthia. Let's see. I can add you on here. Hold on. It's okay. I'm gonna add Cynthia, and then I'm gonna talk to um, Andrea.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you. How are
Great. Good. How are
you?
you?
Good, good, good. I'm so glad you could join us.
Thank you.
Now, tell us about what language do you speak other than
Spanish.
English?
Spanish.
Spanish. So, were you hired specifically for your Spanish speaking abilities?
Not really for this position, but they did hired me. Like what that was one of the things they highlighted in my resume, and I was basically the last two candidates for them to between me and another nanny, and they chose me because I speak Spanish.
Did they pay you any extra because you speak Spanish, or it was just still the same salary? They just
Mm,
preferred you because you spoke Spanish.
I don't know if they pay me extra because I speak Spanish, but they do pay me like I have asked other nannies what they make, and I think I make pretty decent amount. But I don't know if that's because I speak Spanish or because I have other certifications. But I think they do now
Oh,
that
okay.
now that the baby that I have taken care of is speaking Spanish like 100%. Now they're like,
Mm-hmm.
whoa, like
Okay.
that's my that's my little boy.
So does the baby when you say baby, do you mean like a tiny baby or
So I
toddler
so I
baby?
had him since he was 2 months old, and now he's 2 years old,
Ooh. Oh
and
wow!
he's
So
having
he's probably speaking very fluently.
yes, and now he's having a sibling anytime. So I'm just on call.
So does he speak English at all?
He does speak English to the parents and Spanish to me.
Okay, so he can differentiate between the two, who I'm supposed to speak English to and whom I'm supposed to speak Spanish to.
Yes, it's so funny. And he will say like, I want agua, like I want water, or like I want, or like dormir, sleep, or arriba, upstairs, or abajo, downstairs. Like it's so cute.
Do the parents understand Spanish, or they
Well,
just wanted you to
they're
speak Spanish
learning
to
so
them?
much from him. It's amazing. And I actually write down all the words in the words that we have that he has learned through the week, his new words, so
Mm-hmm.
they can understand what he's saying, because sometimes they will call me and it's like I have no idea what he was saying. It's-
Guess it helps if you know what your child is saying. Well, that's a good thing.
no,
That's a good thing. So, have you traveled with them before?
I haven't. I mean, we just been in the summer house, but no, not really travel. But they do travel a lot, and they
Okay.
think that will be very useful for him later on, and they are now choosing between schools, and they're actually going more for a bilingual school so he can keep his Spanish.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I know that one family that I work with, mom is not a native Spanish speaker, but she learned Spanish in college,
Hmm.
and she worked in um, while she was in college, she did internship over in, I want to say, in Spain or some Spanish speaking country,
Hmm.
and it kind of it kind of just, the Spanish became more, she's like, it just got more intense. I didn't realize I knew all these words, and then I learned new words, and I learned how to speak it more, and then I came back and I had nobody to speak to, so I would sit and listen to Spanish music. I would watch Spanish soap operas. I would do everything in Spanish,
Yes.
and so I could keep my Spanish.
Right.
She said I wanted to keep fluent. She said, and now that I have children, I speak Spanish to my children.
Yes.
So when we travel, they will know. But she's also sent her child, I think it's called the World School. It's a private school, but they speak 4 different languages in that
Wow.
school. And your child can take the Spanish classes or the
Hmm.
French classes. I think it's Spanish, French, German, and I want to say Russian.
Wow.
I think it's Russian. It's either Russian or I'm trying to think what the other language is. But anyway, they speak 4 different languages, and the classes, it's like an elementary school. It goes up to like 3rd grade. And then you graduate to whatever other school, you want to go to. But I love the way that she has spoken to them and then sent them to school. And she had the babysitters,
Hmm.
all the babysitters that she hired, they spoke Spanish
Yes.
because it was important to her for her kids to speak Spanish. And even though they know English,
Yes.
it was important to her for them to practice
Yes.
on more, 3 or 4 times, not just with her, but with someone else who also spoke Spanish, so that, conversations that she may have with her kids and words that she may use with her kids were not necessarily the same words that were used by the babysitter.
Uh-huh.
So she was trying to keep it all together. So how many families have you worked with that that were, I should say, interested in the language that you spoke?
A lot of families, at least 10 families. And
Wow.
most of them, the kids will be bilingual. But the problem was when I, left for some reason, they will put them to daycare or bring another nanny and they will just lose it right away. It's so sad. Yeah.
Oh, that's just that's the sad part about it. And I guess that's why the trend now is people looking for, as especially here in the Dallas area. I know on one specific site, at least 3 or 4 times a day, different people. I'm like, uh, preference given to those who speak, a second
Hmm.
language, preference to those who speak Spanish,
Hmm.
preference to those who speak
Yeah.
German or whatever. It is all, I'm just noticing, I'm like, when did all this happen? Where did all of a sudden everybody wants someone who speaks a certain language?
Hmm.
And I know they're out there. And I'm like, wait a minute, let me go get Rosetta Stone so I can figure out how to speak another language besides sign language.
And I think that's one of the
So it
reasons.
has been tempting.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons too that they're bringing more au pairs here, because they want their kids exposed not
Uh-huh.
only to the language but to the culture. I was an au pair myself, so that's how it started.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
So, yeah.
Cool. So they brought you in as an au pair
Yes.
so that you can strictly speak Spanish to them.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes.
Okay. Hmm. Maybe I can find somebody that needs English as a second language.
You never know, because there's a lot of,
You got my brain
yes,
thinking.
because there's a lot of families now. At least I have met a lot of like Colombian families or different from other countries that they actually want a nanny that speaks English. Yes.
Oh, but wouldn't the nanny have to understand the kids' language so they can communicate?
Well, usually you start
That's,
when
I mean, that's
usually they will you will start when they're babies, I guess. But and that's the best time to
okay.
start speaking to them in Spanish because they're like a sponge. But yes, I have seen that. I
Right,
have seen a
right.
lot of actually Spanish families contact me and say, "Do you know someone, American nanny, a friend that is looking for a job that I really want my kid to learn, English because we just got here and like." So I'm like,
Wow.
okay, I do.
Hmm. I'm wondering. Okay. You about to make me recreate myself again. Yes. Hold on. Let me see. We have several comments. Uh, Bonnie says, I've never heard of a nanny being paid more to speak a language other than English. And Jazz says, you're right. Some parents will. Naja says, some parents will, especially if they are sought out a nanny for that in particular. Let me see. Oh, Lord. Okay. Bonnie says their salary might be determined based on what they bring to the table, but that is sorted out in the contract negotiations, which is true. And if you're specifically, if in my opinion, if I see on a job posting that you're looking for someone who speaks a certain language, that's a negotiation on the table for me.
Yes.
That's a negotiation. Well, I'm going to charge at least $1 extra an hour, $1 or $2 extra an hour, so that above my rate, because you are hiring me specifically, not just for me being a
Hmm.
nanny, because there are a lot of good nannies out there.
Exactly.
And even though there are a lot of good nannies out there, you are specifically looking for someone who speaks your language, someone who speaks a particular language. And if that is what you do, and that's what you bring to the table, and you're going to get that job, then I will make that a negotiation in my contract, because this is particularly what you're looking for. Then my negotiation is, how about, $1 extra an hour? If I'm working a 12-hour day and you're talking about 12 times, 5 days a week,
Hmm.
that's an extra $60 a week,
Yes.
which can bring you in $240 extra a month, which is an electric bill, a phone bill, a water
Anything.
bill, a gas
Hmm.
bill. It will pay for something.
Yes, definitely.
So, so when you find these families, or when they find you, do you use that as a negotiation
I
tool?
do. I do, and I also like someone else to say you are a package, and you have to know how to solve yourself. You gotta be confident in what you bring,
Yes.
especially in my case, I have kids myself. So that is also a negotiation for me because I'm not going to work for less than, example, I don't know, I can give an X number because I'm leaving my own kids to go to work. And also, I'm putting in the table that I speak Spanish, I am newborn care, postpartum doula, XXX. You gotta know how to solve yourself because
Mhm.
this is your career, this is what you love to do. So yes, you gotta put that into the table.
I like your business mind. Yes, yes, I love your business mind. I'm a business major. I'm like, I love your business mind.
And
Yes,
I always tell, I think
yes.
some of my
You
friends
have
my
to.
friends are actually online, I think connected, and I always tell them, don't sell yourself short because you're amazing. You can do this. You're awesome. You see all these awful nannies on the news, and like we actually take care of the children. We love them. You gotta sell. You don't sell yourself short. That's what I always say.
That's true. Do not sell yourself short. Don't. And I always tell nannies, don't settle
Yes.
because you'll regret it.
Yes.
It's always I've been there and I've done that, and it took me a while to stop settling. And I know that I can work with just about anybody, but after a while you get there, you're like, why am I here? Why did I take this job? I knew this was going to happen. I didn't know when it was going to happen, but I knew this was going to happen. And now I'm not happy anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here, I'm satisfied, but I'm not excited like I was when I first got the job. And I'm like, yes, I get to go to work today, and this is going to happen, and that's going to happen, and let's see what he's going to. I love working with babies because I love the helping them reach those milestones, working with them rolling over, working with them, walking and just, making sure they can grasp things, making sure, noticing when something is just a little bit off. Okay, we need to work on that. The aha moments they get, that's what brings me joy. When I get to the point where the parents are overriding what brings me joy, then I'm in the wrong place. Because even though I'm working with the kids, I have to work with the family too.
Exactly.
And if I settled to start out with, then what am I going to expect? You're going to get what you settled for.
Yes, exactly.
So if you want to keep that happy feeling on and on and on for years and years to come, and I'm not saying that there won't be days that you were like, oh gosh, I got to go to work today because I don't feel good, or because whatever is going on in life in the background, and you have to put on that happy face to go to work. That's a different story than just in general every day. I don't want to go to work. So don't settle and don't sell yourself short, because you will feel it. You'll have those pains.
Yes. Oh my God, I love you so much.
I can't describe the feeling, but it's just that feeling of. Huh?
I love you so much.
Why? Did I hit a nerve?
No. No, this is what I was actually. I had a rough day at work too, and this is what I needed to hear today.
Oh, well then, okay. Well, you're going to be okay.
Yes, I know that.
If you did not settle for the job that you have, then you're going to be okay. It's just a rough day. Breathe, take a bath, take a shower, watch a movie, some comedy, something to make you smile, laugh, take your mind off of it. Do whatever you need to do. Get yourself together. Tomorrow's a new day.
Yes.
And we start all over.
Exactly.
Yes. Yes. Now, let me see what time it is. Okay. Now, I have one more guest. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
And for sharing with us. And to all of your friends, don't settle. I don't know which ones are your friends and which ones aren't, but don't settle.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to your friends and listen to me. If you settle, you're going to feel the effects of it. I promise you that. Go with the job with the best fit that you feel like this is it. I get to come to work. I get to do my job. I get to, I have to go to work. Oh my gosh. Oh, this, like a weight is on your shoulders.
Yes.
If you do what you love, it's not work. I promise you. It's a joy. But if you're not doing what you love and you're somewhere that you don't need to be, it's a chore. It's a weight on your shoulders. Let it go. Just saying. Thank you again for joining me. And hopefully we'll have you back again soon. Now, I have one last guest, Miss Andrea. It says it's adding her and it's connecting. There she
Hello.
is. How are
Good.
you?
How are you? Oh, hold on. My
Good,
camera's a little.
good.
There we go.
It's a little
Yeah.
wonky. So, how? What language do you speak?
I speak.
What languages do you speak?
I speak Spanish, and I am 5 years into Mandarin Chinese.
Okay, see, in my neighborhood here,
Mm-hmm.
where I live
Mm-hmm.
now, Ooh, you just all over, all over the neighborhood. I promise you.
Yeah.
I promise
Mm-hmm.
you. You will be very, very popular here.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yes, yes,
Yes,
yes.
it's becoming the number one language to learn, Mandarin Chinese, just not only just for in the childcare industry, but in business in the US in general.
You know what? It is.
Mm-hmm.
It is because when my children were looking for
Mm-hmm.
jobs, they were saying, well, they want somebody that speaks another language. They want somebody that does this. I was like, well, yeah, speaking another language is, when you're working at a college campus, when you're working at the bank, when you're working with all sorts of people
Mm-hmm.
in a job that you're going to meet not only people who speak English, but people, and especially if you're living somewhere like here in Texas,
Mm-hmm.
Spanish is big.
Mm-hmm.
Spanish is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I regret that I didn't learn. I did take French in high
Mm-hmm.
school, but when you don't use it,
You
you
lose it.
lose it.
Yeah.
So,
Mm-hmm.
now who do you speak Mandarin with?
I use it on my nanny kids, and now that I'm a newborn care specialist, I actually speak to my babies in Mandarin, and I read to them in Mandarin. Yes.
Oh my
Mm-hmm.
gosh.
Yeah. So when I had my nanny kids, I would teach them how to say, I would speak to them and ask them what they want. 你喜欢吃什么? What do you want to eat? And then they would say, 我喜欢 waffles. They would, they would learn. It would take them a minute, and they would look up and then they would get it.
Like, what is that word?
Exactly.
I can't think of it.
Exactly. So I just, what I did was I wrote down the phrases that nannies would use on a daily basis, and then I
Mhm.
translated those into Mandarin, and then I would start basically immersion of my nanny kids into learning Mandarin Chinese. Mm-hmm.
Cool. So, do you work with Mandarin families now? And now that you're a newborn care specialist, or do you work with American and just the whole human race?
all
Should I
all
say?
families. I'm one of Jehovah's Witnesses,
Okay.
so I do a volunteer work specifically in the Chinese community. So I volunteer my time with the Chinese community. So that's how I've been able to learn Chinese. But with my families, they're American, and I use what I've learned with my families that I work with.
Oh
Mm-hmm.
wow. See, now that's fascinating because when you leave the
Mm-hmm.
families, how do they continue on that Mandarin language without you there if they don't know it?
It's difficult because it's just like with any language. If they don't use it with the children, now children are a little bit more resilient than adults. They will be
Hmm.
able to retain it for a longer period of time, but eventually they will lose it if the parents don't speak to them in Mandarin or Spanish or whatever language that they are learning. So, children are a little bit more resilient, but as time goes on, if they're not using it, they're going to lose it.
Okay, so Nigel had said, let's see. It was a different time. Japan was viewed as the world leader, but China has taken
Mm-hmm.
that place. They have their hands in a lot of
Mm-hmm.
countries. And she also wants to know, how long have you been speaking Mandarin and what made you decide to learn it?
Well, I've been learning Mandarin in actually, this month. Actually, it'll be 6 years this month. I've been learning Mandarin. I started in 2014. So like I mentioned earlier, I'm one of Jehovah's Witnesses, and so I volunteer with the Chinese community. And so I started, I teach the Bible and just other things in Chinese. And so that's how I learn Chinese, on the struggle bus, but but
You on the struggle bus? I love that.
Sometimes when I say
Use that terminology. The struggle
exactly.
bus.
Sometimes when I say
Okay.
things, they're looking at me like, I know I'm like, ooh, I know I didn't say that right, but that's okay. But I mean, that's how you learn. That's how you learn. So
Yes.
yeah, I
Yes.
volunteer with the
You
Chinese.
have to learn. You can't be afraid to make
No.
mistakes while you're learning,
Mm-mm.
and because that practice makes perfect.
Exactly.
And if they are there to tell you, okay, that word is not pronounced this way, it's pronounced that way. It's kind of like tomato, potato,
Exactly.
potato.
Yes.
But if you don't know that in this country we say potato, in that country we say potato. Okay, so this is how you pronounce it. Okay, well I'm gonna pronounce it this way in your language. So
Exactly.
somebody's
I
laughing
know.
at me, but anyway, at least I know because I know just trying to get names right when I come on here because it is such. I love the fact that it's so international, and I've had people from other countries say, "Well, when you said this, it reminded me of this, but you didn't say it right." I'm like, "Okay, so how am I supposed
Exactly.
to say
Tell me
that?"
how am I supposed to
Send
say
me
it?
a voicemail and a little voice blip that says how I'm supposed to say this. I have asked plenty of people, okay, can you send me in private messaging? Can you send me your last name? Can you send me the pronunciation? Because I have no clue how to pronounce your name. Because and most of the time in my mind, I'm like, say what? I would have never gotten it. I would have never gotten it right because I want phonics. I want phonics.
Yeah.
And most names are not phonetically
No.
correct because that's just how I learned how to read. You put those syllables together and they don't sound anything like that. I'm like, okay, so you realize that in other countries, the same pronunciation, the same vowel sounds and consonants are not the same as here in America. So what you're saying is totally botching up their name.
Yes.
So I will do research and ask them how to pronounce their name because they're from a different country. And I'm like, okay, I'll just call you by your first name. And then when you introduce yourself, then you can say your
Same.
name again and maybe it'll click in my
I
head.
can copy what you said.
So yes, right. Because I don't speak. I have a very, very strong country twang. I grew up in Arkansas and now I live in Texas, even though I've lived all over the world. And then when I say all over the world, I'm from Alaska, all over the United States. I put it like that, not over the world, but over the United States. From as far north as Alaska to as far south as Florida and Texas. I've lived there. But everywhere I go, I keep my country twang. And I don't know why, but it's just me. And I accept that. But I also know people from other countries, they have their own accents. And it depends on the dialect.
Exactly.
Because there are several countries that speak Spanish, but it's a different dialect in this section of the country than it is in this section of the country. And I'm like, well, how am I supposed to know which one I'm supposed to speak and who I'm speaking
Exactly.
to? Because I'm just,
Yeah.
me. But you learn, and when you're around people, when I was in DC, I had a nanny. We were good friends for 2 years, and man, I understood what she was saying. I couldn't speak a lick of it, but I understood what she was saying because I was learning sign language. And when you learn more than one language, sign language is such a visual language that it makes you use both sides of your brain. And when I say both sides, and when both sides of your brain are firing off, it's so much easier to learn other things.
Oh yeah.
I found it was easier for me to understand Spanish because I've always, when I started doing the sign language, and even now, that's how I learned and picked up so much German because I was also doing sign language with the kids. And it kept my brain firing.
Yeah.
Because they would ask me questions. What is this word in sign language? What is that? And if I didn't know, I would look it up. and it kept my brain firing. And when your brain is firing on all
Mhm.
cylinders, you pick up, you can take in, just like kids, you can take in
Exactly.
sponges. But if you're so one left
Mhm.
brain, like I've been most of my life, that left
All of
brain
us are.
working. So, and that's why when kids are
Mhm.
born, all cylinders are
Yes.
firing. So that's the time to teach them all kinds
When
of
they can't
languages.
even speak, even in the womb, if you speak to them, even
Yes.
when they're in the womb, they will, you can read to them, they will hear it, and it gets into their minds. And as they grow older, they will learn. So even I always tell my parents when before I started working with my clients, read to the babies, talk to them, let them hear your voice. They can hear you, and
Yeah.
you got to start that even before they're born.
Yeah. I have parents, I have mamas that have the headphones that fit over their bellies
Mhm.
and they play music to the
Mhm.
bellies, to their babies in the
Mhm.
womb. And I love that because I used to sing
Mhm.
to my babies. I'd be sitting and just in the
Mhm.
room, and I'm start singing, and my belly would start moving. They would start rumbling, and certain songs that I was
Mhm.
singing, it was like they reacted to more. So I know they're
Oh
listening.
yeah.
I know, and I know I'm the type of person, I always test my theories because that's just who I am. I'm very analytical,
Mhm.
and I need to know that this is what is supposed to be. I said this. I'm going to do this, and let me see if it
Mhm.
works. That's how I found out I was allergic to a lot of medicines that I'm allergic to. Okay, I'm going to test this theory. When I started singing songs to my
Uh huh.
kids when they were in the womb, some of the songs that motivate them. If I sing something else and they start moving, then I stop and I sing something else and they stop moving. I start back singing that other song and they start moving again.
Mhm.
So I would do it like 3 or 4 times, and I was like, okay, well, maybe tonight was just a fluke.
Mhm.
I would do it 4 or 5 nights in a row. And I knew when I sang a certain song and they started wiggling and jiggling, I said, yeah, you are stimulating them.
Mhm.
So whatever you are saying, whatever you are
Mhm.
doing, whatever you are speaking to them,
Mhm.
it stimulates them because they start moving.
Yeah.
And I tried it at different times during the day and night.
Mhm.
So even it still worked. So when I test my theories, it's not just okay at 9 o'clock every night because I know my baby's going to be awake. I'm going to sing this song. No, I sing it in the morning. I sing it in the afternoon. I sing it in the evening. I sing it midday.
Mhm.
And that same song would stimulate, especially my oldest.
Mhm.
That same song would stimulate him. So when you start speaking to your children, if you're going to speak another language to them, dad may speak English
Mhm.
because, dad's got to talk to the belly anyway. I got to talk to my son. My daughter don't know what. So when they start talking to the belly and they're speaking English and you speaking another language, when those babies come out, they will know those
Mhm.
languages.
Yes, they
And
will.
that is so fascinating to me.
It is. It's amazing because they say that even I've read that 5-year-olds can learn 3 languages at once.
Yes,
So their
they
their
can.
brains are amazing, and I just wish that more people would teach their babies languages. It's just so good to know more than one language, and so I just wish
It
that
is.
that would be more of a priority of teaching babies or children more than one language.
It is. It's an advantage. And with the way the world is going
Mhm.
now, it's almost as if, especially at banks and public
Mhm.
places, you see signs that say "Hablo
Mhm.
español," and I think in living in Washington D.C. and in new places like Washington D.C., where it's all the embassies are
Mhm.
there, and you hear accents from everywhere. And now, as a matter of fact, the other day I was in the store and mom was speaking German to her husband. Her husband was speaking English back to him, back to her. She kept speaking German to him. He kept speaking English to her. And I just started smiling. And the little girl in the cart, she's looking at me and she's frowning. And I said, she had a little doll in her hand and had a bottle. And I said, Essen? And she was like, so I was telling her, and she kept thinking, I said, like, you're feeding your baby.
Mhm.
And I said, Essen? And she's like, Like, how did you know that? How do you know what language I'm supposed to be speaking? And Mom stopped her conversation and looked at me, and she was like, "Uh-oh, let me not, let me hone in my words that I'm talking to you,"
Uh-huh.
because she didn't understand that I knew what she was
Mm-hmm.
talking about. Mike Isaacson says, "I was born in Russia, and now I can't even understand Russian because my parents didn't continue speaking it with me." Oh man. Let's see, what else did he say? "I'm crossing my fingers I can get my Russian back." Well, I hope you find someone, Mike, that speak Russian with you
Mm-hmm.
so that you can get your Russian back.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's got to
yeah,
practice it. Just 30 minutes a day is a good starting point.
it's
Mm-hmm.
essential. I watch Netflix because the baby signing
Mm-hmm.
time, and the signing time is on Netflix. And I watch the videos, and I'm signing, and I'm like, okay, I know that, I know this song, I know how to sign this song, I know this, and I was like, okay, and then it comes on, I'm like, wait a minute, where are my words? I forgot. So practice, practice, practice,
Yes.
and if you don't practice, you will lose it.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't use it, you will lose it. The fastest way is full immersion. Yes, it is. Full immersion. That is so true,
Mm-hmm.
Bonnie. The fastest way to learn is full immersion, because if you dropped into a pool of water, you going to try your best. Your body goes into survival mode,
Mm-hmm.
and you will try to find
Oh
your
yeah.
best to get the way to get out of that
Oh
water.
yeah. Yeah.
Your limbs will start flapping and doing whatever it can do to get you from under the water back to the
Mm-hmm.
surface. So if you drop into a full immersion language, you'll be like, okay, so okay, wait a minute. He said this, he said that. Now I know those two words, and you will start
Oh
learning
yeah.
languages. You start learning words and picking up words and learning the meaning of them, because if they're important to you, like eat and the bathroom and
How how much is
directions,
this?
you will learn. Yes, money.
Yes.
Uh, am I giving you too much money? Are you giving me the right correct amount of money back?
Mm-hmm.
All of those things are important when you are fully immersed in it. And if you can find a community where you can get fully immersed in it, I would suggest you do
Mm-hmm.
it. It is so important. Now, have you traveled with some families because of the language that you know?
Not so much of the language. I have been hired because of the languages that I know and speak, but not so much just because they're going to go to China or Taiwan or somewhere that speaks Chinese or Spanish. No, but I have
Okay.
been hired because they want because of the language skills that I do have. So,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. So did you negotiate a higher pay because you knew that this is what they were
Oh,
wanting?
yes, always. I always, that is like non negotiable of me when I go in and you want me because I speak another language, even if you don't want me because, and I do speak another language, that is factored into my rate of pay.
Because you know somewhere along the line I'm going to be speaking to your child in
Exactly.
this language, and
Exactly.
you going to want me to speak more to the language because you're going to see the benefits of it. And
Exactly.
business minded people think that ahead. Okay, so I'm bringing this, this, and this
Mm-hmm.
to the table.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
even though you only want four of
Mm-hmm.
these, the other four gonna come out eventually. So I'm gonna negotiate my contract on all
There you
eight,
go. Yes. And even for,
not just the four that you
yeah.
want. Because now that I got you, hold on, let me pull out the other four. Come on.
Yes, and even if you don't speak another language, you can find a family. Like there's tons of Chinese people, there's people from other countries in this country that want their child to know English. So if you
Right.
speak a, I would say, it's almost you have to have like a neutral English accent, but you can use that as a negotiation in your salary to help them to learn English and then also help them teach
Y'all gonna
you.
have me going in here. Y'all gonna have me drawing up another contract, finding some new
Yeah.
families, putting some different wording on my posts
Mm-hmm.
when I okay.
Mm-hmm.
We'll do you know sign language, you know, the advantages of learning sign
Yeah.
language, of learning teach English as a second
Mm-hmm.
language. You
Exactly. I have
have a teaching degree.
yeah,
I will
I have what's
teach.
called a TESOL, teaching English to speakers of other languages. So I can teach English with methods using the Pimsleur method to teach English, but I also use those methods to teach my kids other languages. They work just as well.
See, once you got a method,
Mm-hmm.
it can work across the board if you know what you're doing.
Exactly. Exactly. You just got to think and use what you have in every avenue.
Okay, so I'm going to encourage you all, if you know another language
Mm-hmm.
and you are, add that as part of your marketing tool.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Because some parents don't look at that until they see specifically why learning another language is important.
Mm-hmm.
Add that to your portfolio. Add that to your posting on your job post.
Mm-hmm.
And trust me, you will have people who will contact you simply because of that little niche. I have worked with 31 sets of twins.
Mm-hmm.
I still have people, even though I am working, I still have people who are contacting me because you've worked with twins. Okay, so I have a set of twins. Can you tell me about this, and this about my twins? Well, no, I can't tell you because I'm not there to observe them. But if you'd like to hire me, I can.
There you go.
So we can have a consultation. I can come over for a visit and do some consultation, do some, hey, I don't have to be your nanny, but I can help you with this
Mm-hmm.
problem.
Same. Yep.
So, and even if you're nannying, you can do tutoring
Mm-hmm.
to that child. Come over in the evening, a couple of hours in the evening, and speak nothing but Spanish to that child.
Mm-hmm. Yes. That's it, and that's the best way
I'm just
for
saying
them to learn.
It's a second income for you. It's more than one. I have learned from the best of them that more than one flow of income, because one can go out the door any minute now, but you still have 3 or 4 coming in, trickling in, that can hold you over until you get that main one back up and
Mm-hmm.
going.
Exactly.
I'm just saying. These are things that you can add to your resume. These are things that you can, even on your resume, if you are saying, well, this is the things that I did with this child. And I taught Spanish as a second language to the family or to the
Mm-hmm.
child. Or there's many ways that you can word it, and many ways you can put it on your resume so that you are more hireable
Mm-hmm.
to a
Mm-hmm.
family. And when you go in there and that's what they're looking for, you use it as a negotiation tool
Mm-hmm.
to get the salary that you want, or
Exactly.
at least close to it.
Don't sell yourself short.
So
Exactly.
don't sell yourself short. And that's with any job.
Mm-hmm.
If you got the potential and you got the credentials, go for it. Sometimes you leave stuff off of your resume that can get you hired for so many other different
Mm-hmm.
jobs. Language skills is one of
Mm-hmm.
them, because I will put on my resume, taught ASL. I've had families that wrote me letters of recommendation. We were so surprised when she had our children rolling over. She had them doing this, she had them that. But most importantly, she taught them another language. She taught them American Sign
Mm-hmm.
Language. We were skeptical, but when she started teaching them, we got on board and we did. And I was just like, wow, I did all that. And it totally shocked me because I was expecting, the run of the mill letter of recommendation. She was very good to our family. She did this, she did that, whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was expecting. But when I got a couple of letters like that, I said, girl, you need to put this on your resume.
Got to.
So I'm telling you all, put it on your resume.
Mm-hmm.
Use it. And if you have to talk to someone to get the right wording, it is still worth paying someone when you get the return on the other end when you get hired because of the things that you bring to the table.
Exactly. And if you don't know another language and you want to learn another language, all you have to do is write down the phrases that you use on a daily basis and then translate them. Of course, have somebody that speaks that language check the sentences, but and then just start using it every day. Just start speaking to your kids every day using those phrases, and then you'll eventually learn, and then you'll just add more to your database, and then
Mm-hmm.
that's how you learn. You know,
That's how you
one of the
learn.
easiest ways.
Girl. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I tell you, I learn every show.
Mhm.
I'm so glad that I get to do this because every show, every time I get on Ask the Nanny, I learn something new from my guests because I know I have limited experiences.
Mhm.
I can't be everywhere in everybody's job at all the
Mhm.
time. And I know that I may have lived in a whole lot of places, but there's still places that I haven't
Mhm.
lived. There's still circumstances that I have not faced because that's not the type of family that I chose to work
Mhm.
with. So when I get to talk with other nannies and their situations, it just, I don't know, it just excites me. It just, I just, I can't even talk. I just get excited because I learned so much from you all. I learned so much, and it just brings things and makes me write down things. Okay, I need to work on this. I need to write down this. I need to do this. I need to do that. Let me work hard on this. Let me let this go. I find so many things to change about me from talking myself more marketable, make myself more uh, open to things that I wasn't open to before. So it just, I'm thankful to be able to do this in front of you all and for you all to come and watch and participate. Now, we have uh, one more minute. And I would like to thank everyone who has joined us. Hi, Glenda. How are you? I'd like to thank everyone who has joined us tonight and who has participated. If you have comments and stories of your own about language and how to use it with your nanny kids, any suggestions that you have about using different language with the kids and just using it in your job with your families, please leave a comment. Before you leave, before we close out, please share this broadcast with your nanny groups, with your nanny associations, with your moms groups. Share on your page, friends, nanny sisters, nanny brothers. Share, share, share. I appreciate it, and I'm sure your friends and your nanny's sisterhood, the whole village will appreciate it too. And next week, we will be back and we will be talking to seasoned nannies. Now, that's going to be one of my favorite shows because I'm a seasoned nanny. I just turned 53 this year and I've been in the industry for over 30 years. And I cannot wait to hear some of these seasoned nanny stories because I know that we are seasoned, but there's new things that we can learn from the younger generation. And it has taken me doing Ask the Nanny to get up off of my old ways and try new things. As I was saying a few minutes ago, I'm glad that I get to be in front of you and learn from you all because you have helped me to let go of some of my old ways and come into the 20th century with my thinking and the technology and different ways of doing things. And it's so much easier. I promise you, old dogs can learn new tricks. This one has learned new tricks. So I'm excited about next week. We get to talk to my seasoned nannies and see what all the things that they have learned, things from the past, things that have changed, and how it has changed and affected them. So join us next week for the seasoned nannies. The struggle is real. I promise you it's real because change is not easy. And we will see you all next week. You all have a great week.